because it must be nice to be able to just cut yourself off from this, to not feel obligated to give your life to this. But I say that with tongue in cheek, because at the end of the day, those folks aren't happy. Those people spewing negative memes about people, those folks who, their whole life consists of just sitting on the internet and making fun of people and insulting people, those folks aren't happy. They're not happy. They've never experienced the love of being part of a community. They've never experienced the joy of pulling together with other people to try and accomplish a goal. They've never experienced that. And they're stuck in a very downward spiral of negativity. So they're not, I don't really envy them. I don't really envy them, but on some level, I mean, it is frustrating. It is not easy. It is not easy to have it in you to just have to keep doing all of this. It is not easy. It is not easy to have it in you to just have to keep going, right? Thank you, Gala. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back. Hope you're well. It's not in you. It's not easy to have to keep going. When you get a taste of this and it becomes an addiction, and it becomes a way of life. It becomes a mindset. It becomes part of who you are. It's very hard to let it go, and you can't let it go as painful as it gets. And it's very, very difficult. I was thinking the other day, there's an old country song. I don't know if folks have ever heard it. It's about coal miners. You ever hear the song about coal miners? You know, and it's called Dark as a Dungeon. It's a song about coal miners, right? And you listen to the song about coal miners, right? And it's like, it talks about how once you're a coal miner, once you've done it for a little bit, it's very hard to do anything else. You get used to working in the mine. I mean, it's listen to the lyrics. I'll pull up the lyrics to Dark as a Dungeon, classic country song, one of the most beloved country songs in U.S. history, right? Oh, come all you fellers, so young and so fine, and seek not your fortune in a dark, dreary mine. It'll form as a habit and seep in your soul till the stream of your blood runs as black as the coal, where it's dark as a dungeon and damp as the dew. The danger is double and the pleasures are few, where the rain never falls and the sun never shines. It's dark as a dungeon way down in the mine. Right? Well, it's many a man that I've seen in my day who lived just to labor his whole life away. Like a fiend with his dope and a drunkard his wine, a man will have lust for the lure of the mine. Yeah, it goes on, right? And it's a particularly dark song, right? But it's about the fact that once you get in this, once you get into this, once you become a coal miner, it becomes a big part of your identity. It's hard to adjust to life not being a coal miner. And once you get into being a revolutionary, and once you get into being an anti-imperialist, it's very hard to not do this. It's very hard to just go back to living biologically. What does that mean, living biologically? I talked about that, right? Everyone is alive, right? I mean, people that are alive, they are living biologically. However, when you live this kind of life, when you are part of the global resistance, when you're part of a community that is struggling and fighting back, you're alive way more than just the biological sense. You're alive politically. You've awakened, so to speak. And that there are plenty of people who just live biologically. They are technically alive, but they're not really in the struggle. They're not really part of a community. They're not really connected to other people. They don't understand how the world works. They're not intervening in history. They're not trying to change the world. They are just kind of going along with the motions, and they are living biologically. They are technically alive. If a biologist was there and he looked at their body, he would see that the cells within their body are definitely alive. They are living in the biological sense, but they are not really alive in the same way that revolutionaries are alive. When you're alive as a revolutionary, when you've given yourself to this, when you've felt the thrill of making sacrifices, when you've taken the risks, when you've been part of a group of people who are making sacrifices for all of this, It is a way of living that it's very hard to give up. It's very, very hard to give up. Some of the old IRA songs kind of hint about this, right? What is it? The Patriots Game. You ever hear the old IRA song, The Patriots Game? Come all you young rebels and listen while I sing. For the love of one's country is a terrible thing. It banishes fear with the speed of a flame. It makes us all part of a Patriots game, right? I mean, you listen to that, it's the same kind of thing. It's that once you get in this, once you get a taste of being a revolutionary, once you get a taste of being a revolutionary organizer, it's very, very hard to just turn it off. It's very, very hard to just go back to regular living, right? It's very hard to do. Very, very hard to do. And you know, I don't know what to say about it. I mean, this is a different way of being. People that are capable of becoming revolutionaries as we are, it's not a normal thing. I mean, Stalin, Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union. This is how he began his speech at Lenin's funeral, right? This is how he began his speech at Lenin's funeral. This is Joseph Stalin, January 30th, 1924, a speech delivered at the Second All-Union Congress of Soviets on the death of Lenin. This is Joseph Stalin. He writes, "Comrades, we communists are people of a special mold. We are made of special stuff. We are those who form the army of the great proletarian strategist, the army of Comrade Lenin. There is nothing higher than the honor of belonging to this army. There is nothing higher than the title of the member of the party and the leader of Comrade Lenin. It is not given to everyone to be a member of such a party. It is the sons of the working class, the sons of want and struggle, the sons of incredible privation and heroic effort, who before all should be members of such a party." What's he saying there? He's saying it's not for everybody to be a communist. It's not for everybody. I'll post the link in the chat if you want to go read the speech for yourself. It's that he opens the speech, the very first lines of the speech. He's saying, this ain't for everybody. This ain't for people who are just gonna, cut tail and run. This isn't for people who are just gonna, there's somebody didn't like me, I gotta run away. This isn't for people who, it got awkward, I had to work with somebody I didn't like, I got my feelings hurt, I gotta run away. No, this is for a certain type of person who can do it. And some people can do it and some people can't. And we shouldn't expect everyone to do it. That's a mistake that some of us fall into. This belief that everyone can do it. No, not everyone can do it. Like I said, I'm done chasing after people. If you want to walk this road with me, if you want to help me get this job done, if you want to make yourself part of the historical process, if you want to insert your will onto history, go for it. But if you don't, if you want to talk about it, if you want to fantasize about it, but you don't actually want to do it, then don't work with me. I mean, you read What Is to Be Done by Vladimir Lenin. He makes that point. This isn't for everybody. This isn't for everybody. I'm going to show you all a few things. I was cleaning when my wife and I moved to our new apartment. Was cleaning a few things. I found a few things I wanted to show you all that I thought might be of interest to you all. So hold on tight, everybody. Got a few things to show you. All right. Does folks know what this is? This is a signed letter that I was given. A signed letter I received from Russian President Vladimir Putin. You see this? This is a signed letter I received from Russian President Vladimir Putin. That is the personal signature of Russian President Vladimir Putin on this letter. This is from the office of Vladimir Putin. That is Vladimir Putin's signature on this letter. I was given this letter after I went to Russia in 2018 to cover the presidential election. I went to Russia in 2018 and I covered the election with the Communist Party. I was in election night. I was in the headquarters of the Russian Communist Party, along with Gennady Zyuganov, along with their presidential candidate, Pavel Grudinin. And I was there on election night covering it. And I was in their international coverage. Some of my reporting there was translated into some other languages, you know. And a couple months later, Putin's office issued me this letter thanking me for my work covering the election. Now, I'm not showing this on here to brag and like, look, oh, I got this. Look how special I am. It's not the point. Is Putin the most popular guy in the United States right now? Not really. Not really. Is Russian media one of the jobs that, they're encouraging good Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to go apply for? Not really. Not really. But I know that Russian media tells the truth and exposes the lies about U.S. imperialism. So I'm very proud of the work that I do working in Russian media. But no, it's not something that that gets you. You don't get honored by the daughters of the American Revolution. You don't get the keys to the city granted to you for doing it. You do it because it needs to be done, because U.S. imperialism is the main danger to humanity, because Russia and China and Venezuela and Iran and Cuba and Vietnam are fighting for development and truth in a world of lies. So that's what I do, and that's my job, and I'm very proud of the work that we do. And I will say that all the people who tell me that my job, that RT, were propaganda, well, they don't know what they're talking about. RT is held to a much higher standard of accuracy than mainstream media is. That's just the truth, right? It's held to a much higher standard. CNN makes big mistakes and inaccuracies all the time and gets away with it. However, RT is very careful, very, very careful to be accurate on absolutely everything, because there's constantly this accusation, oh, that's propaganda, don't believe anything on RT. Well, because of the constant allegations and attacks on RT, the constant pressure RT faces, RT is held to a much higher standard, and there is a much more thorough fact-checking effort with RT. They bend over backwards to be accurate in ways that mainstream media could only dream of doing. Why? Because they're constantly being marginalized, constantly being lied about, and that's why I'm really, really proud to work at RT. And, people say RT is propaganda. There's wider perspective on RT than you find in American mainstream media. On RT, you'll hear libertarians, you'll hear socialists, you'll hear conservatives, you'll hear liberals, you'll hear people defending the U.S. state, you'll hear people criticizing it. There's a wider perspective of opinion. If RT was propaganda, it would be pushing one particular view. RT is doing the opposite. It's opening discourse. It's expanding discourse beyond the narrow horizons of mainstream media. Must be said. So I thought you might all want to look at that. But I also wanted to show you a couple other things. I have two of these. This is from the New Horizon Conference in Iran. Google the New Horizon Conference. Right? I attended not just one, but two of the New Horizon conferences in Iran. These are anti-Israel conferences that that are held in Iran. They don't have them anymore, but they had them for a few years. They were having these big anti-Israel conferences in Iran, right? This is the third New Horizon conference, right? Third international conference. And this one was for the second New Horizon Conference of independent thinkers and filmmakers. I attended two New Horizon conferences in Iran, anti-Israel conferences, where leaders of the Palestinian resistance and leaders of anti-Israel activism from around the world and leaders of anti-war and anti-imperialist organizations from around the world spoke, and I went to those conferences. And, I can guarantee you the U.S. government was not thrilled at all about me attending the New Horizon Conference. They were not thrilled about me attending the New Horizon Conference, right? While I was at the first one that I went to, which was actually the second New Horizon Conference, a member of Congress read a statement into the congressional record condemning the New Horizon Conference, calling it a hate fest, and saying that it was disrespecting Israel and that it was hateful. And there's been a huge amount of smearing and pressure. And the third New Horizon Conference was all dedicated to the Black freedom struggle. Members of the Nation of Islam were there. Vernelia R. Randall, the editor of racism.org, was there. Leaders of the Black Lives Matter protest movement in San Francisco were there. But regardless, people still insist I'm a white supremacist because I went to this conference, even though this conference was very, very much not a white people conference. It was a lot of people from Africa, a lot of people from the Arab world, So, I went to this conference. I went to it twice, not once, but twice. I went to this conference in the Islamic Republic of Iran that was denounced by the U.S. government. And, I know for a fact that the U.S. government didn't like me attending the New Horizon Conference. You know why? Because when I returned from the New Horizon Conference, every time for the next couple years, every time I got on an airplane, I would have a boarding pass that looked like this. You see this? Look at those S's. Look at those 4 S's, right? I would get my boarding pass. They would take out, I would go to the airport to check into my flight, and they would take out of their drawer, they would take a stamp, and they would stamp 4 S's on my ticket. You see those 4? This is the red stamp they would put on my airline tickets. 4 S's, meaning maximum security status. Now, they stopped doing that after a while because it was clear I'm not breaking the law. I went to a conference in Iran. But just to intimidate me, I got harassed at the airport for a few years. I've got evidence of this. They would stamp my tickets with 4 S's, special security, just because I went to conferences in Iran, opposing Israel, opposing U.S. wars. So, again, do I not expect this kind of thing to happen? Of course I do. Right? Of course I expected this kind of thing to happen. I am someone who has dedicated my life to challenging the lies of the rich and powerful. I have given my life to anti-imperialism, to fighting for the working class against the billionaire monopolists and the bankers. I have dedicated myself to exposing their lies and exposing their wars. And so I face retaliation. And it's not easy. It's not easy what I've experienced, And I could describe some other things. Those are just some trinkets that I found when I was cleaning, the letter from Putin and all of that. But if you look at what has happened, right? What? One of the questions I used to get asked, I joke about this kind of thing. One of the questions I used to get asked when I was in college, right? People would hear me defending the Soviet Union when I was in college. People would hear me defending China and defending North Korea and taking anti-imperialist positions. People would say, "Did you grow up in a communist family?" And I'd say, "No." And people would say, "Are you from this country?" And I would say, "Yes." And sometimes I would give people sarcastic answers. I'd be like, no, I'm from a far off land. I was sent here to overthrow the government. Like, no, I'm from this country. But yes, I understand that the reason that the living standards in the United States are going down The reason Americans are losing their jobs and homes is because of the same big banks and international corporations that are trying to push us into World War III with Russia. And that Russia, as it struggles against the big monopolies and struggles to raise its people up and develop and recover from the disaster of the 1990s and become a stronger country, is struggling against the same big banks and corporations and big monopolies that have been wrecking this country and grinding this country into poverty and destroying the lives of working families and setting up a prisons for profit scheme where Americans go to prison, pushing doctors to overprescribe opioids and killing people with a manufactured opioid crisis. The same big banks and corporations that are, looting the world and leading us into wars against Russia and China and Venezuela and Cuba and Iran are the same big banks and corporations that are looting the Midwestern United States, that have created a rust belt in the American heartland, that have devastated communities. They've made it so people don't even have properly purified drinking water anymore. They're so dedicated to upholding their international system, their open international system, their global financial system, their imperialist super profits, that they are letting the homeland rot, because at the end of the day, they don't care about us any more than they care about the Yemenis or the Ukrainians, right? We're all just financial calculations to the billionaire monopolists who run the world. We're all just financial calculations to them. And if they can't make profits from our labor, they get rid of us, just like those 10,000 Amazon workers who just lost their jobs while Jeff Bezos is running a PR operation telling us about, how great of a humanitarian and a philanthropist he is. And that there are corners of the world that have broken out of this system. There are corners of the world where they've kicked the international bankers and the big monopolies out and started raising their people up out of poverty. China used to be the sick man of Asia. And now look at what China is. Cuba used to be an impoverished country that was a playground for the mafia. And now look what Cuba is. It's the envy of the Caribbean in terms of living standards. Right? Look what Nicaragua used to be until the Sandinistas got in there and started building entrepreneur programs and wiping out illiteracy and industrializing the place and electrifying the place, right? I mean, there are sections of the world that have broken out of this and had big achievements. And ultimately, societies where the banks, factories, and industries and the centers of economic power are not operated for profit, but are rather operated for the benefit of all. Countries that have a government of action that fights for working families, that controls the means of production on behalf of the population, countries like that are going to rise. And the Western capitalist financial system is going to sink lower and lower and collapse. And this is the future. This is the future. We're on the winning side, but it's not easy. And if you think that it's going to be easy, and if you think that it's going to make you popular, and if you think it's going to make mainstream institutions pour love onto you and promote you, you are wrong. You are wrong. The dying old system is going to come at us, but it is our relentlessness and our ability to boost up each other and promote each other and stand arm in arm with each other and resist their attacks. That is going to be our strength. Our strength is going to be coming from the ability to get things done, to hold ourselves and our community together and resist the attacks of the imperialists. And that is going to be our strength. And some people are up for it and some people aren't. And if you're up for it, we'd love to have you join us, right? CPI website. You can join on the CPI website. We'd love to have you as a member. We plan on doing events soon, in the next couple months. We've got some plans in the works. We just had a Zoom call meeting a couple days ago. We're going to have another one soon. You'll be getting the invitations, all the members. And if you want to be part of it, by all means, please do so. And if you don't, why, then don't, right? Some people are in this for real. Some people are cut out for this, and some people aren't. And there's different levels of participation. Not everyone can participate at the same level, but some people are ready to live a revolutionary life, and some people aren't, right? And for those of us who are, we need each other. We need each other. There's some people, myself included, and I know a few others, quite a few others. I know some, who this is who we're meant to be. This is who we have to be. We don't have a choice. It's not like we could choose to just go live a normal life. No, this is who we have to be. We've been called to do this. We've been called to live this kind of life. This is who we have to be, and we cannot live any other way. Now, you can view it however you want, right? I'm not here to save your soul, right? You can view it as this is just how you were born. This is just how material conditions have made you. But I've gotten to the point in my life where I believe that the call came from a higher power. I believe that those of us who have to live this way, those of us who can't give it up, this is what God wanted for us. There is something spiritual driving us. This is not simply our material interests. We're not rats in a maze, fleeing pain and seeking pleasure. But there is something more behind all of this. There is some spiritual power here. There is some higher forces involved. That's why we can't quit. And that's why we just have to keep going, even when it seems detrimental, even when it puts us in danger, even when we have every opportunity to step off the revolutionary road. We just can't do it. We just can't do it. Because this is who we have to be. Because this is who we were meant to be. And when the going gets tough, we just have to press on ahead. We just have to get through it. We just have to find other people who understand it and are also committed to living this way. We have to press through and get the job done because it's about something bigger than ourselves. And that in and of itself is its own reward. We're people that could never just live biologically. We're people who've been chosen to live a life that matters, to insert ourselves into the historical process, to make great sacrifices, to challenge the rich and powerful, to make a ripple in the time-space continuum. That's what we've been chosen to do. And for those of us who've been chosen to do it, we need each other. Because doing it on your own, doing it in isolation, it's not very easy to do. But you get a group of us together, and we start singing those revolutionary songs, and we start chanting. Man, you have not been to an event until you've been to a CPI event. Seriously, folks that were in Chicago, folks that were in Kansas, folks that were in Austin, you have not had a good time until you've been to a CPI event. We have the best rallies. It is awesome what we do at our events. I mean, you come out of one of our events feeling pumped up. I remember after our Chicago conference, I turned to Justin and I said, "Do you know any other socialist group that has conferences like this?" And he said, "No, sir, I do not." Wow. Wow. And they're only getting better. We're getting better at doing them. We've only been doing them for a year, and we haven't even been doing them that long. We're doing something really, really special. Santa Barbara, absolutely. We had a great conference in Santa Barbara. We're doing something special here. We're doing something special here. And it's good for all of us. It's good for the country. It's good for humanity. So, I'd like to have folks be part of it. It's not for everybody, though. And there's no need to chase after people. There's no need to drag people into it who aren't ready for it. But For those of us who this is who we truly are, John McCarthy was there. He loved it. For those of us who this is true, who we truly are, this is what we got to do.